Hey there. So somebody's asking me some 18OE questions. It's an 18xx game. I did a video playthrough for a couple years ago, and rather than trying to explain it via text, I wanted to answer the question, hopefully with some paper here, and I hope the camera's at a decent enough angle that you can see. So what am I talking about with 18OE? And the question is, 18OE, what's the difference between a minor, a major, and a national? And let me check the question. Oh, and a regional. Yes, a regional. Okay, so let's get to it. All right, so I'm going to bring this a little bit closer so you can see. So what's the difference between a minor, major, national, and regional? So at the start of game, so we're going to do start, and then as the game progresses, I'm going to go down the page. So at the start of the game, we have 100% regional and minors. Okay, the regionals are real easy to see. Those are the, these are the named companies. So like BHB, MZA, you know, what is it, Lawnmower, you know, all the different named companies. The minors are going to be the A through, oh gosh darn it, I think it goes through like M. It skips a few letters, but those are the minors, okay? So when you start the game, it's 100% that. You can't be anything else, okay? So what is a regional? A regional can only build track in home country. And I'm sorry if my writing is bad, but you can only build track in the home country. And that's for, it's not just regional, that's regional and minor. Okay, you can only build track in your home country, period. So that's the part about this, that when you start the game, that's your restriction. Okay, so what's the first thing that has to happen in the game? The first thing that has to happen is 100% float. So what this means is that all 30 companies must float. And I'm sorry, I'm writing on a line there, but all 30 companies must float. So there's 12 minors, 18 regionals. When you start the game, it is possible that you're not going to start all the regionals and minors. Well, all the minors have to start, but the regionals, you may not have all 18. So you could possibly play a few rounds where you have not yet floated all 30 companies. That's the first milestone you have to hit. You have to hit all 30 companies. So what's the restriction? The restriction is cannot buy level 3 train. That's the restriction. Okay, you cannot buy a level 3 train. So then after that, let's say all 30 companies do float. Then the next milestone is somebody buys a level 3 train. Okay, so what does that do? Well, this is pretty simple. First purchase unlocks, oh, actually, take this back. Hold on. I know the rules very well, folks. I'm just trying to make sure I get this 100% right. All 30 companies must float. Actually, the next there's something else that unlocks here. Once you get 100% float, it unlocks no. The first purchase of a level 3 train unlocks the ability to merger. Okay. So there's a couple of other things here. There's this concept of, okay, well, what's a major and what's a national? Like, I haven't talked about those yet, and that's where I was pausing for a bit. So you can become a major at any time. Okay, so so you have like a par stock, and then you have the regular stock market. So when you're a minor, or I'm sorry, when you're a regional, you're over here, and then a major is when you leave the par stock and you become a major company. And here, there's only 4 shares. There's a president's share that's worth 2, and then 2 individual shares, and then here there's 10 shares. Okay, that's the difference between, so like I said, this is a regional and that's a major. It is a player's choice during the operation round to go major. Okay, now I said that you can only build track in the home country. That is true even if you become a major up here. So that's the part I paused on. I wanted to make sure I got all this right. So that's why I scratched out the word regional here. Even if you become a major right away. So you have 100% regional and minors. You can become a major. It's your choice. That's just a stock market decision, if you want to think about it that way at this point. But the restrictions stay the same. So you can become major. And this is the part that I was realizing I needed to put in. Okay? So it doesn't matter if you're a major or a regional. Everybody is restricted to home country until there's 100% float. Okay? And then the restriction until that happens is you cannot buy a level 3 train. Okay? The moment you do that, you can now buy a level 3 train. The first purchase unlocks the ability to do what's called a merger. Now, you must be a major to merger. So regional companies cannot do a merger. Only majors can. And I think if I'm reading your question, you can't merger with nationals either. Nationals don't merge with anything. Technically speaking, we had this debate because that was actually, it came up. Yes, you can, but all that happens is it just goes away. The merger doesn't actually do anything for the national company. Now somebody, the reason they wanted to do it is because they wanted to get the extra share of stock, and they were able to do that. So we did allow them to merge with a minor as a national and get an extra share of stock. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself there. But it's a really wonky situation, and if you're forced to merge with a national, you're losing the game as far as I'm concerned. So don't do that. But anyways, you must be a major to merge with a major to merge. Okay, to do a merger. Okay, what is a merger? A merger is minor merges with major. Major gets minor powers. They get the minor powers. They get all the money. And they get 1 share. So the president gets, or whoever is the president of the major gets an extra share of the company. The major stock. Excuse me. Excuse me. Okay. So all of this unlocks the moment that somebody buys a level 3 train. So at some point, you have to choose to go from a regional to a major. That's your choice. You can do it at any point in the game. It's just that the major can't do a merger with a minor until a level 3 train is purchased. And you have to also be a major to do that. So if you're still sitting as a regional company and you want to do a merger, you have to first become a major, and then you can do a merger. And that's all something you can do in one operational round. It's just going to take you several turns to do. So it's not a big deal, but to help you understand the sequence, it has to be in that exact sequence, okay? And then the other thing with doing a merger is you can only merge once per operational round per major. So if you own BHB and you merge with, let's say, minor C, that's fine. But then if you want BHB to also merge with minor M, you have to wait until the next operational round. You can't do both of those mergers in the same operational round. Now, if you happen to also own MZA, so you merge BHB with C, you can merge MZA with M, all in the same operational round. That's totally fine. Okay, so it gets really tricky with this game with the way things go. But now let's say there's this final thing, because you might be wondering, well, what the hell's our nationals? So why haven't you mentioned nationals yet? So the next major milestone that happens is a train rusts. And this is going to be level 4. Right? Level 4 is going to rust the level 2 trains. Okay? So the 4 trains are going to rust the 2 trains. All right? When that happens, a major, not a regional, a major can choose to be a national. Oh, one other thing. It unlocks the ability to merger, and I'm going to put another milestone here. It is merger itself. Okay? So it unlocks ability to lay track outside home country. So until somebody does a merger, it doesn't have to be you, okay? Your company does not have to do a merger. If one player in the game, one company in the game does a merger, it doesn't matter who it is or what it is, every player in the game, every company in the game is now allowed to lay track outside of your home country. Okay? It's a key important point. It's not something you have to do, okay? Somebody else can do it. Just one company. As long as somebody does a merger somewhere, you're not allowed to lay track outside the home country. Okay? So that's a key prerequisite. Until then, you're still stuck with only laying track in your home country, and that can really hold you back from making some good money. Okay? So that's an important milestone. This guy right here. That's a very important milestone. So somebody somewhere wants to do a merger. And usually, generally speaking, it's pretty natural because the miners have all these superpowers, and people want to give that to their majors. And then by doing the merger, that gets them more powerful. There's lots of reasons for it. It usually happens naturally. I've yet to see a situation where all the players are like refusing to merge because they don't want to allow anybody to go outside their home country. That's never happened. Okay, so back to the train rusting. A major can choose to be a national. So what is a national? A national gets track points. Can only lay track in home country. And you treat them as if a station is in every town. And this is hard to describe without actually showing you the game board, but basically it doesn't matter. Let's say you're looking at France as the national. So you have a French company that went national. So now you're going to get 9 track points. It's actually 9. And so you get 9 track points, and they're considered to have a station in every town. So you don't have to connect track anymore. You can go into a town that has no track at all and just start laying track from that town because you're considered to have a station there. And that's one of the requisites, right, is you can't lay track anywhere unless it connects to one of your stations. So you can just plop anywhere you want. And then when you do revenue, you don't actually run trains. Revenue is just connected towns. And then you're going to have to just watch my videos to see how it works with trains. So what they do is they use rusted trains. That's the other thing. So it's not uncommon for a national, when we get the 4 trains, to have 3 or 4 level 2 rusted trains in its company. Oh, and it has unlimited cash. So nationals don't collect revenue anymore. They have unlimited cash. So they can lay track over mountains, any type of terrain for free. And the only way you get money is if you own shares of the national company. So when the national company gets money, all of its money just goes to the bank, which means you don't do anything, but then you get the money. So I hope this helps. So you can start the game with regionals and minors, 100% regionals and minors. Your regional can choose to become a major during the operational round. That's your choice. The difference is between a major is that you have 10 shares versus 4. Some people like to stay as regionals because you get more money. Okay, there's more cash going to you or to the company. Whereas with the major, it's actually more cash is going to the company than to you because you're only going to own 2 or 3 shares and 7 shares is owned by the company. Whereas here, you own 50% of the company, so you're getting more cash. Okay, that's the reason why people like to stay as regional in the beginning. I have to confess, I go major right away with most of my companies. You'll see that anytime I play because that extra money going to the company doesn't hurt me at all in the beginning of the game. In the beginning. In the end of the game, I want to own more. But you have to play a certain way. And I think people have tried my strategy and then say, Jeff, it sucks. And it's just because you didn't try it the way I do it. There's like a doctoral discussion that needs to happen if you're going to go major. The other reason majors work for me is when you start upgrading Metropolis, it costs 4 track points, and a regional only has 3 track points. So a regional can't do it, but a major can. And the reason majors work for me early in the game is because I have to upgrade a Metropolis, and I can do it before the other players can, and so I'm getting extra money into my company that they're not able to get. Now, if I start in a country and there's another player that has 2 other trains in that same country, I may not go major because that player is going to just wait for me to upgrade the Metropolis, and then he's going to benefit the most from it. And so I'm going to say, screw you, I'm not going to do that. There's a lot of strategy in this game, but just so you understand, a regional is going to have 4 shares, you own 50% at least. You may even own 100%. Here, there's 10 shares, and you're only going to own 2 of those shares, at most 3 or 4, because you're just not going to have enough money to own all 10, and you're capped out at 6 by the game rules. So, so at the beginning of the game, you have regionals and majors and minors. Okay, you can only build track in home country. Then, once all the companies float, okay, then you cannot buy a level 3 train. Oh, Jesus, my dog. All right, I guess that's my cue that the video's over.